the flow has to be understood on these two levels, space and time. So first, space. To describe the space where we'll be while performing tonight, I'd like to refer to a concept used by the French philosopher Gilles Deleuze, nomad science. Nomad sciences are sciences that develop outside the frame of the official science and knowledge. I quote him, "There are itinerant, ambulant sciences that consist in following the flow in a vectorial field across which singularities are scattered like so many accidents." End of the quotation. So this is from A Thousand Plateaus. While royal science rather watches the flow from the bank, nomad science goes with the flow. Royal science sets norms, enunciates standards, while staying on the banks and never entering the flow. This is, for example, what jazz schools did to jazz. They codified a certain knowledge that was built within the flow. Today, jazz is just another kind of classical music. Creative improvisation, the way Yashas and I are practicing it, is based on listening to what is happening and reacting in real time. We are negotiating with accidents, but it's not only that. We have a project. The project is to make music together to create a sonic space that reflects our worldview. For that, we rely on emotions that we share. For improvisation is a collective sharing of affects and emotions. We are producing a flow, as well as we are in this flow, our soundscape. Some people would call it an instant composition. Now time. The temporal dimension of improvisation is also deeply affected by improvisation. For the French philosopher Gilbert Simondon, the arrow of time is reversed in collective actions. Usually, our individual perception of time goes from the past to the future. But in what he calls social time, the time arrow doesn't find its origins in the past, as the determinist point of view wants, but in the contrary, reality comes from the future to the present. For him, future is a huge field of possibilities. When Yashas and I are improvising, we have to envision a future soundscape and play in the present to accomplish it. But at the same time, the time arrow is also reversed because of our process. The music you're going to listen to is based on certain sounds produced live on the saxophone and other instruments, recorded and processed by Yashas with his machines, and then sent back to me. I improvised on these sonic layers. That means that both of us have to think about the future soundscape before improvising in the present. In a way, improvisation allows us to reshape and propose a different spatial temporal definition. Our space is a flow, and our real time is based on future. Considering that giving a spatial temporal frame to all the subjects and groups is one of the main goals of controlled societies, the societies we are currently living in, our practice that is impossible to be kept at bay with laws and general rules is happily subversive. I hope you will enjoy our performance. Thank you again. So I'll start with a solo piece. So with now with the same principle of one single note that was B flat, we'll interact around this B flat and just to show how music becomes different when the two of us are playing with the same idea of a drone, a single note. Il n'y a pas de mots. Les mots ne veulent rien dire, les mots n'ont pas de sens. Il n'y a pas de mots parce qu'il y a un sens Le sens a vidé les mots de toute signification, les a vidés complètement. Il ne reste rien aux mots. Ce sont des sacs vidés qui ont été vidés, le sens a pris tout le sens. Il n'a rien laissé pour les mots, coquilles vides. Le sens se débat tout seul. Laissez pour les mots, coquilles vides, le sens se débat tout seul. Il n'a nul besoin des mots, le sens veut tout. Il n'y a pas de mots, il y a le sens qui pousse, qui s'attache à la poussée. Il n'y a pas de mots. Les mots ne veulent rien dire, les mots n'ont pas de sens, il n'y a pas de mots, parce qu'il y a un sens, le sens a vidé les mots de toute signification, les a vidés complètement, il ne reste rien aux mots, ce sont des sacs vides, les a vidés qui ont été vidés, les a vidés contre toute signification, les a vidés contre toute signification, les a vidés contre toute signification, il n'a rien laissé pour les mots, signification, coquille vide contre toute signification, le sens se débat tout seul, il n'a nul besoin des mots, le sens veut tout, il n'y a pas de mots, il y a le sens qui pousse, qui s'attache à la poussée. Les a vidés contre toute signification, 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 les a vidés if you'd like to ask some questions about what we did, I mean, we're just open to that. We'll sit here and listen to your questions and try to answer.
Tell a little bit about what you were doing, Yashas, to start. The output of this stuff, how did that come out?
I was just taking whatever he was throwing out and then processing it with all these machines. There's two kinds of machines. One is a machine that adds a sense of space to the sound, and that's called reverb. And the other machine is something that lets you play with time. That's called delay. And as a musician, those are probably the only two things that you can play with, time and space. Yeah, primarily the technical aspects of the machine.
I noticed that you were using some sheet or something of very pointing to it. So I was wondering, were you following a score, and was it visual in any way, or what kind of thing are you following?
It is a kind of score that we worked on. Again, it revolves around the fact that we had to work around one note, which is B flat. So the entire performance was just one note. And the score was a kind of guideline, not exactly a score, kind of guideline on how to work with that one note. So.
Yes, we have prepared some kind of interactions. That means that nothing is written. Everything is improvised from the first note to the last note, but we know that we can create this ambience or this kind of sounds while playing together. So we've prepared that because we've practiced together. But otherwise, yeah, the score, actually the whole performance is that. So it's, I can read it. It's introduction, solo, talking, solo, shruti, B flat, abstract. That's the performance.
Is there a reason you've chosen to use your speakers over the house PA?
Yes, because one is the feedback, so when he's playing something, you have the mic, so that was the primary concern. And you don't want to be messing around with other parameters, so just to keep it simple.
So a couple of questions. First, and hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. So I have two questions. The first was, you mentioned talking in the middle, and there was a brief, like some speech kind of, something that you spoke out. So what exactly were you saying, and was it significant?
Okay.
And second question, really briefly again. The first part of, at least in my sense, your set kind of like divided into two parts, and the first part was very atonal, a little dissonant. Was that? What were your thoughts on that? Why was it? Why was your music dissonant and atonal that way?
So two things. I'll start with the second one because it will go fast. For me, there is no difference between atonal and tonal. These are words from another world. I'm just hearing notes, and notes that I like or that I don't like. But this idea of being dissonant that doesn't or atonal doesn't mean anything to me. I can understand that. These are classifications that belong to a certain kind of music, but when we are playing this kind of music, of course, it doesn't make sense anymore to use these categories. About the text that I was saying, this is a text by Christophe Tarcos. Christophe Tarcos was a poet, a French poet that died a couple of years ago. He died very young. He was 41. He's my favorite poet. And the way he writes is really very close to improvisation. He, by the way, did improvised poetry on stage. So he would just come on stage and improvise poetry. I can just translate you briefly. It's a very bad translation. So what I said is there are no words. Words don't mean anything. Words don't have a meaning. There are no words because there is a meaning. The meaning has emptied words from any signification, emptied from them completely. Nothing is left in words, and so on. I mean, this is the kind of repetitive thing about the meaningless of words.
Hi. Yo.
Yes.
So when a group of people play different music from different mediums together at the same time without any practice before, how do you communicate, and who decides when one has to take a lead, when one has to follow, one has to pause and the other has to take lead? Are there like some signals that you all communicate silently to play together?
Usually when a group of musicians play, I think the guy that's had the most beer decides what is good. But in this case, we don't know. I guess it's like having a conversation.
Exactly.
You have a conversation.
Exactly what we're doing just right now. So I empty. When there is some silence, I try to jump in, and he doesn't use mine. But basically, it's not totally improvised. That means that we've practiced together. We've practiced, many times together. This is the result of being on the same, on the same vibrations. Basically, I mean, we play with emotions and affects, as I said. So we try just to find a way just to talk together through music and create something.
Hello. So I just came in and I heard you guys play, and then your prowess over your respective instruments is just outstanding. And I just want to know that since I can just blindly guess that you guys have spent man hours just trying to perfect your respective skills. What I think is that, or what I would like to clarify is that, do you as musicians get the urge to write new stuff, to create something that's unique and different?
I think that music should be mostly oral transmission. This is my point of view. I'm not writing music, I'm not reading music anymore. But this is maybe after some years of practice, and I know how to read music, I know how to write music, but I don't want to do it anymore.
And just to follow that up, what actually drives you? Do you go back to great blues and jazz saxophonists, or do you just pick up your instrument and just get on with it?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yes, I do that.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, first of all, yeah, thank you for this awesome performance. My question is, well, you have spoken about, you have used your machines to play with space and time, which is as it gets. But could you tell as to the thought process behind this? Maybe not the technicality, but what made you play with this tone, the same tone in this way? Thank you.
So one of the things was that I would not intervene with an instrument that I had bought, and that so the experiment was to just take what Pascal was playing, throw it back to him, and then and then have this kind of loop without any intervention. So that was the thought process. I'm not sure if it succeeded, but so that's what we were trying to play with, which is basically just him going through all these machines, and then you have this loop just to see where it goes. So, like most experiments, it can fail or could fail or has failed. So that was the larger kind of thought process.
How do you define failure and success?
If everyone just walked out and said, "Well, shit, you guys suck," maybe, I don't know.
Why only B flat?
Yeah, any particular reason why you chose just one note?
It's a tribute to the great rest. No.
Why not? I mean, B flat is one of them. So there's B flat. We chose B flat.
So firstly, I got a little bit of Art of Noise vibes from your performance. And I wanted to ask, in the final segment with the kalimba, at the beginning of every bar, I thought I heard some distortion on the kalimba. So were you putting distortion, or was that the chorus effect?
So last night or yesterday, we figured out that when you plug it in, because of grounding issues, there's a hump. So if you come close, there's a kind of a jugaad fix for that, which may have not worked. So the distortion was not intentional.
Some accidents turn out pretty well.
Yeah. And also, I've never played this before. Yeah, I don't know what it is. You just got it.
What do you listen to in your car, your studio, your home? What music do you listen to? And are there any contemporary composers who are an inspiration?
So I only listen to that. No, that's not. No, I'm listening to I come from jazz, so I'm still listening to lots of jazz, but I'm listening to everything. I can tell you what I listened to today. I woke up with 9 Inch Nails. Then I listened to some funk, I think. Then I listened to Sonny Stitt at one point. So everything, yeah. Basically, I listen to everything. What are you listening to?
I didn't listen to anything today because I didn't go to work. I was sleeping. But I think we can talk about polyrhythm and Steve Reich.
Yeah.
So at some point there was the saxophone going, and there's layers of saxophone. That was so I looked up. There's a lot of YouTube tutorials about how composers work. There's learn a composer's work in 10 minutes kind of videos. So we saw this one about Steve Reich. So how Steve Reich composes that kind of polyrhythms. So this was a YouTube tutorial which I was trying out. So Steve Reich has some kind of influence on one bit in this program.
Yeah, in this program, I mean, the influences, what can I say about the influences? There's one guy I really like who's Anthony Braxton, and who recorded solo saxophone. So each time I'm playing the saxophone, in a way, it's because of Anthony Braxton. Then there's something that has to see with Indian music also, and with Indian scales. I mean, ragas when we're playing with the shruti box. As Yashas said, there is something that has to do with minimal music or repetitive music, and the kalimba is more kind of. We are ending on a kind of African lullaby, I would say, something like this. So, but you're free to interpret what we did the way you want. This is your music now; it's not ours anymore.
Hi. Good evening, guys. Right next to. Okay. So one of the things is that Yashas, you kept picking up only certain fragments of the sax section. Was that? Did certain parts appeal to you, so you picked it up, or you just kind of at random said, okay, this one, now this one, and then ad hoc you kind of just played with whatever you were getting? Because he kept playing like a good chunks of time, and you only picked up maybe like 5-10 seconds, and then kept, through reverb and feedback, you kept playing with it. That's one. And the other is, does that mean, given the improvised nature of your piece, you could play with B flat 100 times and get 100 different pieces of music? And if you don't write your music, then you just release it into the universe and go like, okay, bye guys, that's the end of that.
Yeah, so the second part of the question, yes, I mean, it always sounds different. It's never the same. So you don't know what's going to happen. When he was playing, I don't know, there was a sound that was coming from there when he started playing. So, I was wondering if that could be a part of it. So, it always turns out different. First part of your question, I'm not sure how I can answer it, but that's what improvisation is. It's regardless of whether it's a machine or if it's an instrument, you're constantly listening to the other person, and then also this is just a thought. You have to listen. You can't just. You have to let the other person finish, give them space, and so on. So. And there are certain people that you enjoy playing with because they listen to you. And so that's, I guess, like having a conversation with certain people that you really enjoy playing with. A lot of younger musicians, for example, they're technically very good. They can go up and down the scale, but they don't listen. So that's, you play with someone you enjoy playing with. And you know that person will listen to you, will give you space, and you have to do the same thing.
Thank you for the wonderful performance. What I wanted to hear, what I wanted to ask you was, do you guys make your own instruments also? Like you did some jugaad with that guy. Do you also like randomly hack your instruments, add a few elements to it or so on?
So I'm absolutely not able to do that. I've tried, but I've even tried to fix it, but I'm really bad at it. But he's an instrument maker.
Just a shameless plug, outside there'll be a website sticker. You can even buy some of the stuff that I made. So, advertisement.
But could you talk about a little bit of what kinds of instruments you make? Like, what's the process?
What kinds of instruments? something that's fun and easy, I guess. That's what. I think instrument building is a very interesting thing because there's so many things you have to think about. You have to think about the aesthetics of your instruments, how easy it is, how cheap it is. So in that sense, it's interesting to build something. Mostly because also a lot of the electronic stuff is quite expensive. So you're forced to kind of build it because you can't afford it.
Yeah. Hi. Yashas, you mentioned that you picked up the sax sound and then you work on it and you send it back to him. Are you in total control of your machines or do they surprise you sometimes?
They always surprise me. Okay. So when you play in a large, fancy auditorium, that's a concern. But when you're with friends, it's not much of a concern. So, yeah, you're a little bit apprehensive in a context like this. But otherwise, that's it's something that you enjoy when something goes. I think a couple of things went wrong.
I didn't mean going wrong.
No,
do they do things by themselves?
Yes, they do. This one was behaving strange, so I had to not play with it too much.
Okay.
Yeah, but as I said in the beginning, I think it's important for us also to play with accidents. So things are happening. I think one of the funny part of this music is that we try to surprise ourselves also while performing. So we don't know where it'll go, in which direction, and yeah, that's part of what makes it funny for us also.
So in between of your piece. Sir. So in between the piece, sometimes it feels like that's my perception. I felt like kind of some parts of the piece sounds like some piece by Philip Glass. So is it like how you just said that some things are accidental, or was it in a very minor thing? Was it intentional, or everything was just accidental?
Yes, I mean, yeah, we as we said, as Yashas said, we refer to Steve Reich, who's in the same movement as Philip Glass for this minimalistic, repetitive music. Of course, the fact that we are playing with loops creates easily something that is repetitive. And this is maybe more audible in the transitions because only that stays while we are trying to negotiate something else.
Yeah, as you said, there's like a Chinese guy, I think, on YouTube who kind of breaks stuff down and be like, sound like Philip Glass in 10 minutes. So I was looking at that. And yeah, so all of these are from the same school of so-called minimalism. And they use the same techniques, which I guess are apparent and obvious.
Do you have your reverb before your delay, and does it tie into that example of space and time?
So the reverb comes after the delay because I'm old school. Yeah, so it's always after. The reverb's the final thing. And it was just not doing what it was supposed to do today, so that was another.
Yeah, maybe last question. No? Yes?
So usually when you go for a music concert, hi.
Who are you? Okay, oh yeah. Okay.
Usually when you go for a music, any kind of music, you listen to it, come back, It was great, it was dissonant, not dissonant, it was melodious, not, you come back happy, not happy. In your case, this time that you've taken, both of you, to deconstruct, answer questions, what made you do it, etc. I mean, that's been extremely helpful. Do you do it every time? I mean, this is like art, right? You have an artist standing to explain what made them do it. So is that something that you insist on, that you give time after your music so that you can actually answer people every time?
No, it's not possible to do it each time. Usually, it's more informal. I mean, after a concert, you're there, you're just arranging your stuff, and people are coming and asking questions. I mean, I think that Yashas and I are always open to answer these questions. Here, I mean, it's more formal. My idea also was, because I've written this article that is unpublished right now about improvisation, I wanted also to test all these ideas and see how that works, and how I could also show through a performance how these ideas of flow, of space, of time are really basic things in our practice of music, and mainly also the idea of within the flow is it's my idea was to show that it's possible to make music without any score, written score or noted score from the beginning to the end, and that it's not only valid for music. I think that improvisation is a way of life, and we are reacting. In real time to things, to inputs all the time. Our idea is to do that with our emotions, with our worldview. That means that we are reacting on a horizontal level. Yashas and I, we are reacting. No one takes the power. It's just so I think it's also